Welcome back to TingleCon, everybody. I'm here with another amazing panel of super talented ASM artists. Today, we've got our panel of Twitch versus YouTube, so a bit of a hot issue right now. So today, we actually have Miss Caitlin ASMR, the ASMR Nerd, ASMR Maya, and RubyTrue, who are all actually, I think most of them are on both platforms. I know most of them from YouTube, but I know some of them focus on Twitch and such. So I thought they could share their experiences and perhaps some advice that maybe might help some of you ASM artists out there or fans. So we're going to go ahead and jump into some questions. We got some feedback from the audience, so we'll go make sure to ask those towards the end. But we're just going to jump right into this, and then perhaps you could just ASM artists just briefly introduce yourself as well for those who may not know you. So why don't we start with the first question, which is going to be, and I guess we could just start from the top here with Miss Caitlin, and then go on from there. So first of all, which do you prefer? So we have, obviously YouTube and Twitch, and so Twitch being the live platform from Amazon, sort of a gaming platform, but has now gone into other areas. And YouTube, which I think everybody here will know. So which platform do you prefer to create on? And which do you prefer as a viewer and why?
Ooh, that's a good part with the viewership. So personally, I really like creating on Twitch. I really enjoy the live interaction with the community and people who might not have ever heard of ASMR before. It's really nice to be able to be live and introduce what ASMR is to somebody. For a viewer, I love watching Twitch. I'm always on the platform. I'm always lurking. It's a great platform.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what I'm feeling like. I enjoy creating on YouTube for some reasons, and I enjoy creating on Twitch for other reasons. If I'm making something that's supposed to be a little bit more of a production, obviously YouTube's a good place to do it. But if I'm looking at specifically talking about live streaming on one platform or the other, I definitely prefer live streaming on Twitch. I find that they're just a lot more forward thinking with their features, especially for community engagement and that kind of things. And it feels like YouTube's always kind of one step behind in terms of community engagement features that way. As a viewer, again, it depends on what I want. If I'm looking to lay down and sleep, I'll go to YouTube, 10 times out of 10 usually. But if I'm looking for a sense of community, then Twitch is where I'm going to go if I want to just sort of hang out and chill.
And the same for me, actually. I feel like for content creation, I started enjoying more to be on Twitch because it has the community part. And it's definitely good to have people there with you. And on YouTube, we don't really get that. Even if you stream, YouTube can be quite messy in terms of chat. Mm-hmm. And I found it quite confusing when I streamed there. In terms of being a viewer, I feel like maybe I will fall a little bit more on Twitch because of that sense of community. But if I just want to relax and actually be enjoying a video, of course I go to YouTube. But even for background and company, I feel like streams are great for that because there's someone actually there present with you.
Yeah, they're completely different in my mind, so different. And I guess it depends what kind of from a creator, what kind of creator you are as well. Whether, like you said, if you want to make big theatrical, costumey, themed videos, as a creator, you can spend a whole week, day, however long, doing that. Whereas on Twitch is that moment, and what you're doing is shared with those people, and it's only going to be really in that moment and with your community. And also the type of ASMR, I don't know if any of you have noticed, is very different on Twitch to ASMR, to YouTube. So yeah, I like both. They're both very different, and it both depends on what you're going to do. And as a viewer, same thing. If I'm just super tired and I want to zone out and I really like tapping sounds and I just want to find that sound and I want to listen to that on repeat for like half an hour or, but then if I'm, doing some work and lurking, I tend to end up on Twitch, like lurking and doing other stuff because then I can't help but pop into a chat and be like, and then I'm like, oh, now I'm procrastinating in an ASMR channel. But yeah, they're both very different and it depends what you want to create and what you want to get back. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Cool. So I wanted to actually jump into my favorite question because I think it's going to lead us more deeply into some of these other things, but I really appreciate that sort of just initial introduction there. So I thought, it was actually a fan question, but I'm going to put it in the top here. But can you maybe talk about your first experience live streaming? Was the first time like what? Maybe if it was you were nervous or what that was like and how did it go? And yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I actually got started on YouTube live streaming. I did one of those, like I hit a milestone. So I said, oh, let's do a live stream. And kind of back to what everyone said, the user interface on YouTube is so different than the user interface on Twitch. And the features are just so not my favorite, to be honest. So for me, the first time live streaming, there was a lot of tech issues. A lot of my mic wasn't syncing up with my webcam and all of those little tech issues that just drive you crazy. So the first time, of course, I was nervous. Of course, all these things were happening and it was fun. But yeah, it certainly was an intimidating event the first time around.
Yeah, I did a similar thing where I started on YouTube as well. And it was, I think around like the 5-year anniversary of my channel is when I decided, I was like, okay, we're going to try this live streaming thing. And I honestly don't remember my first stream, like really in any detail. I remember my first Twitch stream more vividly. And I did that not that long after. But I wish I could say that like it was my first stream and I had all these technical issues and then I never did again. But the fact is I still have technical issues to this day. So, but yeah, you just get used to it, right? You warm up to it. And I think a large part of it is building a live streaming viewership and like a rapport with your regulars that come out and a sense of community. When the first time you live stream, you don't have that in the same way. Like I knew people from the YouTube comments and just from, social media and stuff. But when you're actually streaming, several times a week and talking to these people on a regular basis, you get to know people a lot better. And so it's much more comfortable once you've established those relationships. And it's a lot less worry about like, oh gosh, what are people going to think when I'm sitting there? Like you kind of know how it's going to go. So at the beginning, yeah, there was that apprehension about like, are people going to be mean to me? Like, how am I going to run out of things to say? That sort of thing, right?
That is actually a very good point. I can't remember most of my first streams, either YouTube or Twitch, but I remember that YouTube was a lot more confusing. I also did it to like celebrate a milestone or something. And it was just super, super hard to deal with the chat because it was so fast compared to Twitch. And I feel like people have a different approach on that platform when they type in chat. And I feel like Twitch is a lot more, it's easier to just control the interaction with the chat. And there's a lot more tools to help you with that as well. And I do remember the feeling on my very first few streams because it wasn't that good. I didn't have many technical issues, but I always struggle a lot dealing with mean people and mean comments. And I get really affected by it. And when I first started streaming, I remember I would finish most of my streams crying because of 1 or 2 comments. And I would be like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But with time, with building the viewership and building those regulars, I started feeling a lot more confident. And we started also having mods and being able to deal with that a lot more easier. It's easier to just control the chat and keep it safe for everyone. And yeah, I feel like when I first started, I had a lot more issues with that, and it got a little better, but I still struggle with that part of live streaming. But it's it's something we kind of have to be prepared for when we are doing a live stream. We have to be prepared to be the center of attention, and people will always want to give their opinions, and some of them are not so good. So yeah, that was kind of my own experience with live streaming.
The ASMR artist in me, when you were talking about trolls and stuff, I wanted to be like, say, like literally, I just wanted to like stroke you. Yeah, it's just like, yeah. So listening to your experience, it's like so different to mine. I come from Twitch over to YouTube. I was streaming ASMR on Twitch before there was an ASMR category. And I was just in IRL, and I discovered ASMR through Twitch. So I was like going through a really depressive episode. I was already partnered. I've been partnered on Twitch for like, I don't know, 5 years, something.
Wow.
So I was gaming and doing body art, body painting, and just doing like whatever. And I was partnered on Twitch, and I used to do like really chill gaming sessions with The Sims. Like I was really into The Sims. And my viewers started telling me, and though this sounds rude, but I come here to fall asleep. And I was like, I don't understand. They're like, your voice is really relaxing. And at the time when I was streaming, I'd got into this really bad habit of like slouching in my chair and pulling my Blue Yeti like to my mouth and playing The Sims. And I didn't realize I was doing ASMR, basically. Like unintentional, like soft-spoken ASMR whilst playing The Sims. And so a few of my viewers were like, you'd be really good at ASMR. You'd be really good at it. So I started looking it up, and I was like, well, this is a weird thing. What is this? And then I realized it was helping me with my anxiety. And I realized I was watching more of it. And I realized I was like seeking it out. And then, so what I started to do was at the end of streams, I'd just do like an hour of ASMR or something. Like, so I'd play The Sims, I'd do all my normal stream, and I'd be like, oh, for fun, I've been playing with my Yeti and I found these settings and we're just going to do this for a little bit. And like, I was really excited to like do some ASMR. And it just kind of like grew from there to the point people were like, can the whole stream be ASMR? And I'm just like, okay. So like slowly, like my gaming sections got shorter and my ASMR sections got bigger until I was just an ASMR streamer. and here we are. And yeah, being in the IRL category before ASMR had its own category was like, as I was like about the troll thing, it was just like, but I knew it was helping me. And so I was just like, this has got to be helping other people. So yeah, and then I really wanted to just make some YouTube content, and I muddled my way through YouTube because it's such a different beast. Like from going from just being so used to interacting and asking people if that sounds good, and do you want brushes? Do you want me to scratch the mic? Like going from that and like me almost learning with my audience what like triggers and what works, to being like suddenly just putting a video up and being expected to be like good. So if you ever scroll back in my YouTube, like I'm never taking them down, but oh, they're terrible. But I'm never taking them down. But like, yeah, I feel like I really muddled myself into YouTube because it's such a different beast and people expect such a different level of quality, and they expect such a different thing over there. So yeah, that was kind of my experience.
Cool. So actually that was a really great story right there. You had a very unique experience with Twitch and that live ASMR content. But I think I want to jump into something that's related to this because ASMR Maya, you brought that up just a few moments ago with the fans. What is your typical interaction like with regards to how are you building your community differently from YouTube to Twitch, and then also What's your experience like with your fan base on both platforms? Is it similar? Is it really different? Maybe you could all talk about your experiences there.
Yeah, so it's funny that you bring that up because I found that it's very difficult to cross the platforms. If you have an audience on Twitch, it's not always easy to cross your YouTube and Twitch audience and make them one. So I know, for example, like Nick does a really cool setup. I won't tell it what it is. I'll let him save that for himself. But
if it's some big secret.
But it's a nice way to kind of cross the platforms. So for growing an audience on Twitch, it's very natural because people are just curious. They're checking out the category. You might be doing something that someone else isn't doing, and they're like, oh, that thumbnail stands out. Whereas YouTube, you have to, kind of create something catchy from the thumbnail and just hope that the algorithm picks it up. So it is very difficult to create that community and then kind of blend them together. But I highly recommend like making sure that like you have a Discord community so that way people can all come together. They can get notified when you have new uploads for both platforms, when you're live, when you're on YouTube. The interactions that you can have in like Discord is just a great way to really have a community and just bring people together.
Yeah, I agree what Caitlin says about having a centralized place where people from both sides can come together and you can nurture that community together is a big boon. Yeah, Discord's a great way to do that. Another thing that I think Caitlin was alluding to that I've taken to doing is I'll do a little pre-stream on YouTube where I basically just hang out there for 20 minutes or so and just let people know that I'm going to be heading over to Twitch pretty soon to hang out over there and do some ASMR and chill kind of thing. And it's funny. I've been doing that for quite a long time now. I've been streaming on Twitch for over 3 years, but I still get people coming to those little YouTube pre-streams being like, I had no idea you were on Twitch. I'm just like, yeah, I've been there streaming a couple times a week for like years now. But it's what Caitlin says about just getting the word out that you do a thing over here as well, and it's pretty cool. And maybe people want to come check it out. It's been a challenge for sure. Just because you have a reasonable sort of YouTube community built up doesn't mean that automatically translate to Twitch. Although it does help. It did help me off the bat have already sort of a base of people who were showing up right off the bat. So I did have that to help. And of course, this is from the perspective of someone who started on YouTube and made my way to Twitch. But those little YouTube pre-streams have definitely helped. Although I do feel bad sometimes because people are like, well, when are you going to come and stream on YouTube, like exclusively, or like do big long streams on YouTube? I'm like, I just like it better on Twitch for live streaming. It's just better. You should come and check it out. I promise you'll like it. So, yeah, of course, the biggest difference between building a community on YouTube and Twitch is the immediacy of the interaction. And it just comes so naturally, I find, on Twitch, being able to, just to have this immediate interaction with your viewers and just get to know people in a much more natural way. Whereas it's a much slower burn on YouTube. You might see someone that comments on videos, week after week, and finally you start to recognize their name and their input into the comments and stuff, and you get used to sort of regulars that way. But it's a much faster process on Twitch just because it is so much more immediate.
I can definitely relate to that because I also started on YouTube, and then I already had quite a lot of subs on YouTube when I decided to move to Twitch for live streaming, and I was definitely happy because some people came from the platform and followed me onto Twitch. But I do see that difference because a lot of people still prefer YouTube or Twitch. They don't really go for both. And I found it quite hard to like mix both communities and have people coming from YouTube to watch me on a different platform, even though some of them did. And it's also the thing with Discord is it is so true. It's such a good way to connect people and to actually interact with them and build like a real connection. At least I felt I didn't have a Discord before I started streaming on Twitch. And then some people were like, oh, you should definitely create one because we can all receive notifications, we can talk. And I didn't really like Discord before that, and they kind of forced me into it. And then I was like, oh, thank you so much, because this is amazing. Like now we always talk there. We say good morning every day. We built a family basically, and I still feel like it's a lot more from Twitch than from YouTube. I feel like people on YouTube lurk a lot more. Like they leave a comment every now and then, but they don't really build that connection with you. And like you have premieres and stuff where you can kind of talk with your audience, but it's definitely not the same as interacting live with them, because you get to make friends, actually, like talk to them a few hours per day and make that strong connection and know a little bit more about their lives. And I feel like that's the really beauty of Twitch, is to have like people there in the moment and you being able to just share your life with them. Whether like on YouTube, it's more, it's kind of like there's a barrier between the creator and the viewer, because you might reply to comments, but it's never too personal and you never really do a full conversation, even if you reply to a few comments. So it's definitely two different communities, and they're both good in their own ways. But I feel like it's hard to connect them both and to have that being equally the same, you know. But yeah, both equally good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that, especially like on YouTube, I love doing kind of character stuff. And if that's what you're creating on YouTube, and then people come over to your Twitch, I found on YouTube, people created an idea of me, and they may have like watched a few videos that kept recommending them of mine, and then that's their idea of me. And I could have been like a vampire. I could have been like all these things in this like time. And then they come over to Twitch and then they're like, oh, you're like not a vampire. And I'm like, well, no, are you surprised? Like I literally had people, because like one of my videos that kind of like kick-started my channel off was like a Viking video. I have a huge following of beardy Viking men. I'm not complaining. But like, honestly, I saw an influx and like, I love them to pieces. Like I'm with them, like I'm there, but in their mind, that's the video they saw. And that's how they've like made that idea of you. And like you say, the only way they've interacted is, I love this video. They've written it in a comment. Like, I really enjoyed it. I play it every night. And you say, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, because you do. And then that's the end of it. But when people come over to Twitch, I've had a lot of people come over to Twitch from that video as well. I think it's really sweet. Any of you that do this, I'm not like being mean. I think it's really sweet. Like some of them come in, they're like, hello, my Viking. Hello, my shield maiden. And I'm like, hello, that was over a year ago, but awesome. Like, you know, and I think like that's the difference between Twitch and YouTube as well. YouTube can be very curated, and people get to see what you decide to edit and put there. Whereas on Twitch, you switch your camera on, you say hello, good morning, good afternoon, you talk about your day. Like, you know, it depends what type of YouTube you are. I know a lot of like people talk about their day and their life in their videos. I don't tend to, because that's all over on Twitch, and I like to do character work. Another thing I started to do, because I have the larger following on Twitch, is kind of a little bit like ASMRnerd, is I schedule premieres for when my Twitch streams end, and then I pull the premiere up on my Twitch stream, and I'm like, I want to see you in the chat on YouTube. And then they all go over, and it's like really fun. It's fun for me as well, because it's like a little buzz, because I'm like, we're all going over to YouTube and we're going to watch like this premiere. And the best piece of advice someone once told me who was in like marketing is don't be afraid to blow your own horn and like shout about yourself, because like you were saying, people need to hear something at least 3 times for it to settle in. So like that one like mention, oh yeah, I've got YouTube, isn't going to cut it. And also like, especially like when you're live on Twitch, I like some streams have like 10,000 people that have passed through the whole stream. So they may have not been there like 30 minutes ago when you talked about your YouTube. You may feel like you're repeating yourself a lot. And like, obviously don't mention it every like 10, 15 minutes. Like people are just gonna be like, is this a big advert for your YouTube? But it's the same on YouTube to Twitch, I guess, as well. Like I put it like at the end of every video that I have a Twitch and I'm live, like just in writing. But I have done videos here and there where I mention it and I post on the community space. And I still get people every time I do that going, didn't know you had a Twitch, or from YouTube going, didn't know you had a YouTube. I'm going to go watch it all now. Like, so just don't be afraid to continually mention it, because it takes a while for it to sink in. Like think how many things you scroll past in a day and, you know, yourself. So think of it from other people's point of view.
I just add something, like, I don't know if you guys do that as well, but I think most people do, which is on Twitch, you can put like on your title, the commands that you think that are more important. Mm-hmm. And for example, in my case, because I recently created a different YouTube channel for English content, I felt like that's my main goal, to drive people to that channel now. And so that's what I always keep in my titles. And I still get people every now and then asking, oh, but you don't have like English content on YouTube? And I'm like, yeah,
it's
I
written
do.
There.
I really do.
Right there. So we keep spamming links. And also like the mod team is always really kind, and they're always like, did you guys know, just by any chance, that she has these YouTube channels? So I feel like that's right. It's really good to keep shouting out your content and putting the word out there so people can know, because it might be the first time that they are watching you, and it's nice to know. So definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That was really, really cool. I think so for the next, like, cause we have about 30 minutes left. So I want to spend about 15 minutes on like the artistic side of things. And then the last 15 minutes we'll spend on those audience questions. So why don't we, and I think you sort of touched on some of these issues actually with the things you've already said, but I think, you know, if we just solidify it a little bit, because I think these questions are interesting. But maybe you could just tell us, what is your experience when you're preparing for a live stream? So maybe how does it differ on each platform? How are you coming up with the ideas for each one? Is it different on YouTube versus Twitch? And then, yeah, we can jump into the next one.
Yeah, so for me, I often write out outlines for my YouTube videos. I don't use a script. I've tried, it doesn't work for me. So I improvise a lot, but having like an outline of like what I want to touch base on really helps me get the ideas in my head. Whereas on Twitch, I kind of wing it all the time, and it seems to work so far. There are certainly times where I say, you know what, I'm definitely going to use just my Rode microphones today, or I'm going to use my Rode microphones and my 3DO microphone. And that's kind of the idea that I will build up in my head for what a live stream is going to look like. But for YouTube, there's just so many different elements that go into it, from creating original characters, from kind of making those original characters make appearances on your other socials, such as posting like a Instagram reel, such as posting, a cosplay photo, something along those lines. It's really interesting to see how you can blend those like original content ideas into a YouTube kind of character and a YouTube creation. Whereas Twitch, I don't often do stuff along those lines. I just really prefer kind of winging my ASMR, winging my stream's going to be like, I don't want to say low expectations, but I kind of go in with no expectations. Like, I'm just going to have fun today. And then every now and then, if I plan a special stream, that's when I'll make more of like a schedule of what my stream's going to look like. But yeah, it's very different, the two creative processes.
For sure. I don't do role plays on YouTube or Twitch, but my content is still fairly different on both. When it comes to YouTube, I'm usually creating, if it's a sort of a gaming ASMR video, which I do a lot of, it's about creating an experience, sort of an escapism type of experience, usually experiencing this game world in a very relaxing, down tempo way, a lot of attention to the details, these kinds of things. Whereas on Twitch, it's much more about creating a social space and sort of a hangout and chill experience, and experiencing a game with people, rather than this sort of like very slow approach that I take on YouTube. Twitch is very much more about, yeah, just hanging and chilling with everybody there. I might make very little progress in the actual game when I'm doing ASMR gaming on Twitch. I'm sort of notorious for that, but I'm totally fine with that because it's not really about that so much. It's about spending time with people and creating this space, this social space. The other thing that's pretty different for me is I do like tech product unboxings and reviews on YouTube, which I don't really do on Twitch because, again, that's a more structured kind of format. And like Caitlin was saying, I usually have an outline for those kinds of videos, and those I record them over multiple days, and they take a fair bit of editing and these sorts of things. But Twitch is much more improvisational. You just kind of go with it, and yeah, they both have their pros and their cons. They can both be a lot of fun for different reasons. But generally, the distinction for me is that YouTube is about creating an ASMR experience, usually more down tempo and very slow and chill, whereas Twitch is a little bit more up tempo, but still chill. But it's all about the social space.
It's more or less the same for me, but in my case, it's different to prepare for both things because I use different equipment. So for streaming, I use a webcam, and I also have the Rhodes. Everything is set up. I just basically come here, sit here, and stream because I do it more often. For YouTube, I film with my DSLR, and I have to prepare the setup and put the mics in place and stuff. So it's different kinds of preparation as well. And then there's also the part of scripts. I don't use scripts at all. I can't. Unless I have some sort of specific role play that I really need to have like technical words or something, especially if it's in English. If I need to look up for technical words, because English is not my first language, sometimes I really need to look up and try to see what kind of words can I use, and just write down some lines to guide me through the video. On Twitch is completely different. I just turn it on, and it's all about talking with the community as well, as you're saying. And it's not so much, I would say I don't focus on triggers as much. I even get some people coming in chat saying, why are you not doing ASMR? And just because I'm not doing triggers, just because I'm whispering, they're like, this is not ASMR. And I get it. People sometimes look for specific triggers, or just they want kind of the same experience that they get in videos. But that's when I tell them, like, if you want a more calm experience without as much talking, you can search for my videos on YouTube. That's a lot more like relaxing and toned down. But yeah, on Twitch is definitely where they can see also my funny side and also my chatty side, because I chat a lot. Even though I have like some sort of triggers, especially I feel like my channel is really related to having the requests with channel points. I would say the most popular thing is my name tracings, because I have some really, really, really long name tracings. And it's really hard to get them because I had to put long cooldowns on them. But people seem to enjoy it because it gives them that connection with me. And I also enjoy it because I get to connect with them. So that's a completely different thing from filming, because I don't have anyone there. And on Twitch is a lot more improvising, and it's a lot depending on the chat that I have on that day. And it's usually just about having fun and creating that connection with them. So it's different, but I would say I enjoy both processes. It's a really nice experience for me to be able to create videos and to edit and to deal with all those technical things. But Twitch is just a chill part of all the ASMR world, I would say. So yeah, both different process, but I really like them both.
Yeah, you lot are all really chill with Twitch. I'm like chaos. I'm sat here thinking like, oh my gosh. So it can be different depending on how I feel. So like my Twitch streams generally, so I do sound therapy as well, which I stream in the ASMR category on Twitch because I've tried other categories and no other community kind of gets it. So like sound baths, gong baths, and all that kind of stuff. So I do those, which are very different, but for just purely ASMR streams, like I can literally just say to my community, I'm going to fill the room with UV lights today and I'm going to throw paint. And that's when you first asked this question. I was like, there's pink paint all over my ceiling. Like I hit record, like no matter what I'm doing on Twitch as well, to see if I can make other content out of it. I learned doing like, I know we're not talking about TikTok, but like TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, you really have to maximize when you're trying to cross all platforms, your content. Because if you could try and record for each single thing, you're just going to get like burnt out. And I record just for YouTube and I have set days for that. And I do have very chill Twitch streams. But also if I have an idea that I think stream will love, and I think my community are very used to this because I've kind of done it since the beginning of starting streaming, I tell them I'm going to, like, this sounds so different to all your streams. I'm like, I'm going to ignore you all stream and I'm going to kind of pretend you're there, but not. So like I'll do like a cranial nerve exam, and if someone gives subs, I'll be like, hang on, there's somebody at the door, and I'll walk over and actually literally pretend to open my door and be like, oh my God, thank you, 10 subs. Just being ridiculous and like just, yeah, it kind of like fitting in role plays. Like I did a whole role play where I let Twitch chat vote for it, and I planned all the voting questions out, and it was kind of like a choose your own adventure book. Does anyone remember those? This took me like a week or more of writing and like writing all the questions out and saving them all ready to copy and make. I was copy and pasting them and changing my backgrounds at the same time with my Stream Deck on my chroma key and like doing this whole thing. I kind of had a script, and it's kind of like the same way as you guys. I can't stick to a script. I've never written a script. I just love improvising. I will have some direction where it's going to go and the right props for that direction and what's going to happen. But what happens in between is like a complete mystery to me. So like on stream the other day, I was Lilu Dallas from The Fifth Element for 4 hours, and I did not speak. I probably broke character about 3 times just to have a quick like, hello, I'm being Lilu today. But I didn't speak a word of any language that made any sense for like the whole stream. And I was like, this is perfect for ASMR because Lilu makes no sense. So yeah, it really does depend. Like I'm so often late to stream because I'm like, hey guys, I had an idea. And my whole community will be like, oh no, what's she doing? and they'll switch on stream and they'll be like, are you in a different room? I'm like, no, this is what I've been doing all morning, just causing chaos. And I wonder why I'm tired all the time. But yeah, I think that's just my personality. And I think that's the great thing about streaming and creating content. It's like you get to create your personality and people come and join that community because that's what they like. So yeah, I am chaotic. That's my answer.
Actually, now that you mentioned the role plays thing, I haven't done it in a while, but I had a time where I was planning some role plays for streaming as well. And I remember doing these medical role plays on stream, or even like doing your makeup. And the whole thing wasn't planned, but I would just bring some props and I would basically improvise with the chat. So I would be doing like, oh, now I'm going to use this eyeshadow. And then I would show them all the lipsticks that I had, and I would have chat voting which lipstick we would get. And I'll be like, oh, okay, you look so pretty. And I would also cut a little bit on the interaction with the chat, as you said. But for example, if I had, they would do this thing of like gifting a sub at the end and saying, oh, here's my payment. Thank you so much for my makeup.
Yeah, they love it. Like,
yeah, I think it's
so fun.
Great. It's a really good interaction. And it's kind of connecting the content that you do on YouTube with Twitch, which they like. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I would definitely recommend.
They'll literally be like, oh, wow, I can hear so much better. My ears are so clean now. Yeah. Like, I did that.
It's funny.
It's one of my favorite ASMR jokes right there. You get that in the YouTube comments too. My ears are so clean. All right, so I want to ask one more question on my end, and then I want to jump into the audience questions because I want to respect everyone's time here. But I just thought this question was important. I think there's just a lot of controversy, and just discussions about like live versus YouTube in terms of like, oh, this streaming stuff, that's not ASMR. Twitch is for gaming. So do you feel that live streaming artistically matches up with your pre-recorded stuff? And, often I said it's kind of like improvisational jazz, or some improvisational rock guitar or something. Do you think that in some ways, maybe it's even more artistic and like complicated than the pre-recorded stuff going on Twitch and things like that? If you could just talk about that in just terms of your opinion about the art form of ASMR on the two platforms. And then we'll jump into the audience questions right after that.
Yeah, so I completely agree. I think that the artistic way you approach the artistic element of ASMR is very different for me. I often get comments in my Twitch chat being like, you're very different on Twitch versus YouTube. And it's not that I'm playing a character on YouTube. It's just I am typically performing like a role play style ASMR video. So I'm not necessarily being myself. I am still myself, but I am, performing a task, playing a role play, acting in a weird sense of the term, whereas on Twitch, yeah, of course, it started as a gaming platform, but as we've evolved on this platform, we've gotten from just being a gaming website to, as Ruby said, doing sound therapy. Hopefully we get a sound therapy category someday or something along those lines. There's music, there's famous musicians who are on the platform these days. It went from being, what it started to just evolving. And I think that's the beauty of Twitch is it has evolved. And for artists like us, we're able to just continue to create and also evolve our content as the website develops and grows. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree that Twitch has grown a lot over the years, and I personally don't see the expectation there that it's just got to be one thing or another. Like, it probably does help for me that I do a lot of ASMR gaming on Twitch, so that probably helps bridge the gap a little bit. But I don't think I've ever had anyone come into my stream and be like, "What's all this?" Well, that's not true. People come in and they're like, what's this ASMR stuff? But I don't think I've ever had anyone come in and say, this isn't like, there shouldn't be ASMR. This is only for gaming. Twitch is only for gaming or anything like that. I've never really received that feedback. So, but for me, it's interesting talking about the artistry of ASMR because it's something that as somebody who doesn't really do role plays, it's my relationship maybe with ASMR and content creation is a little different. When I'm doing, for instance, an unboxing and a review, there's an artistry involved, I guess, in creating, a soundscape that's going to be appealing, and in the way I do the unboxing, and how long do I spend tapping on this thing or that thing, or do I just get to the business of showing off the thing, or I think the artistry of ASMR has always been more it just sort of, I don't want to say incidental for me, but less of a focus because I'm generally not creating a character or a scene or a story or something like that. There are a few exceptions where I do like I have like my Wandering in Skyrim series, which I've been doing for years. And it just kind of started with me like walking around in Skyrim, look at all the pretty trees and flowers in the game. It's really nice and chill. But over time, I did sort of develop a character almost that the audience is wandering through Skyrim with, and there's sort of certain rules about the reality of that character, like, oh, the other characters can't see us. We exist outside of their reality and that kind of stuff, But but yeah, generally that's a little bit more incidental in the kind of content I create. And then when I get over to Twitch, I'm really not thinking about artistry at all, if I'm being completely honest. I'm thinking about creating an environment and connections with people, but it's and some people might say there's artistry innate in that, I suppose, but it's a much more organic thing for me than it is thinking about some kind of grand artistic vision, so.
It's funny because I actually got some comments on my Twitch chat of people going like, what kind of game is this? And we were all like, okay, this is called ASMR, blah, blah. We have like a command explaining, and they still try to like joke around and be like, oh, but this is not really a game. What are you kind of like doing on Twitch? And we're like, well, if you really don't like the content, you can simply just go on, because there's a lot of gaming content out there. But we usually try to explain to them what ASMR actually is. Some of them actually go like, oh, wait a second, this is actually interesting, so I might stay. So it's definitely, for some people, I would say they still see Twitch as a gaming platform, but it's definitely a lot more than that. As Caitlin was saying, it evolved into something like super, super amazing that everyone can kind of jump in and do their own thing. And I think that's the beauty of streaming. It's not just about the content, it's about you. It's about the content creator, because people go there to see you. They go there because they like your personality. They connected with you in some ways. And of course, it also has to do with your content, and they also have interest in what you're doing. But at the end of the day, I feel like they go there because they want to see you doing that content. So it's a completely different experience from YouTube, and it's a lot more about the connection and the person that is there. Whether I feel like on YouTube, a lot of people create characters, and it's not really, even if you're talking to your viewers and being yourself, it's never easy to put your full personality out there in a video, because the videos are so more like, they're really chill, and I feel like it's really hard to show your whole self in just one YouTube video or several YouTube videos. And I definitely get people like on YouTube, they go like, oh yeah, it's like I've known you for so long, but they don't actually know me. Like, they don't know the full me. And I feel like if they go to Twitch, they get to know me a little bit better. They get to know other sides of myself. But sometimes it takes a while for them to see that there's different. It's not that I'm playing a character, as Caitlin was saying, but it's just really hard to put your personality into a video. And so Twitch gives you a lot more space to be yourself and to show those other traits of your character. Also, with the comparison with jazz, I feel like it's so much more the same. It has to do with being in the moment, and it's something that you experience once. That's also funny thing about Twitch having reruns. Some people ask me why I don't do reruns, and I know a lot of people do them, but I don't know, in some way I always found it like super weird not being there for them with the chat. And I always feel so bad because I see people talking in the reruns and I'm like, I am sorry, I'm not replying to you. So I have a little, maybe one day I will start doing reruns again, but I didn't really enjoy the experience of not being able to be there for them while they were watching. And yeah, I feel like it's a thing of the moment. It has to be experienced while it's happening. And it's like where the connection actually happens when you're together with the chat. So it's definitely a whole different experience from just a pre-recorded video, I would say.
Sorry, you made me look at my reruns because I was like, oh yeah, when do they end? And there was someone in there like having an argument about, oh, is it pre-recorded like most of the people in the ASMR section? Is this all pre-recorded? It's like, oh, I've streamed 25 hours this week. Let me be. I think the Twitches for Gaming thing is a meme. I feel like it's like got to a point now that it's just gone so full circle that people just say it because they know it's going to upset people and they know it's going to set some people off. I had a Twitch account when it was like Justin TV. I don't know if you remember, Justin TV was like for everything, like mostly just people sitting in their bedrooms, just doing really random stuff. Like it was just very random. And then they honed in on, you know, gaming and esports and realized that there was this space there. Coming from someone who used to stream ASMR in the IRL category, I kind of miss it because like some of the things that you lot were saying, it was quite an exciting time. As much as I got, this is weird, this is strange, like I kind of miss being in the IRL category. People would accidentally bump into you. And then there'd be like, there were people that would never click on, like at the moment, if people click on the ASMR category and they come in and they start being funny, I'm like, well, you clicked here. You brought yourself here so you can leave. Like you brought yourself here to say that. And you know why you came here. Like you can just tell that vibe. Like, but in the IRL category, it was genuinely accidental and people would come in and they might say a few snarky comments. And I would always try and be kind and nice and explain because, you know, when people don't understand something, maybe they need is like some explaining. And a lot of those people are still with me because they were like, I found ASMR through you. And I feel like having its own category, which is lovely because it means people can find everything and everything is there and it exists and it's got its place on Twitch and people know that we're allowed to be there. Because literally when I started, I'd be like scratching a blue Yeti and people would be like, get it off, shut her down, report her. I'm like, is this that bad? Like, are you okay? So yeah, that that word is like great for ASMR, but also I feel like we've got tucked away, and being in the IRL section opened people's eyes to something new, which I really, really kind of miss. And it was quite an exciting time. And for me in that time as well, because I was like learning ASMR, and I do it now as well, I think I will discover new triggers whilst I'm live that I never would have discovered if I was planning and setting up to record for a video. Because like, as much as I improvise my videos, you've still got to think about, okay, then I'll have this jar of something, and then I'll have this, and then I'll think about maybe, you know, stroking the mics like this, so I'm going to put them here. And you think about the kind of sounds you're going to try and incorporate naturally into your role play. But when you're just like chatting away with people and doing triggers, I discovered the one the other day, which is literally like poking, not my camera, but the rubber around the lens, because I have my mics and my camera all attached to the same stand, causes this really deep sound. And I'm just like, remember that for a role play, and remember to record that lots and listen to it back yourself and like figure out like what that's like. And I would never have discovered that trigger if it wasn't for me just going, I wonder, whilst I was live, and just like rubbing a stick around it, and then chat going, this is great. And I'm like, oh, I remember that one. So yeah, I think being live gives you that space to have a little bit more freedom. And sometimes I've taken that feeling into recording for YouTube. I don't know if any of you have found since you've been on Twitch that your YouTube videos, you end up cutting a lot less. A lot of my YouTube videos I try and do in one take, and it's one take, or I record the same thing beginning to end 3 times or something, but I'll never edit them together. It's just that they're getting better each time because you're having fun with it and you're flowing with it. And I think if you break things down too much and overthink them and you're like, then I'm going to get this, then I'm going to do this trigger. It's like, that's the beauty of YouTube, is I can just hit record walk around my room, knock things over and get kerfuffled, and then just carry on with the role play and just keep doing what needs to be done and try and stay in that moment. And then you can edit it all out and nobody knows that your neighbors were yelling and then the lawnmower started 20 minutes in, and all of those things that we have to deal with. And also I think being live highlights a lot of things to people that have no idea how long a YouTube video can take as well. Like when you have to end your stream because suddenly like builders just pulled up outside your house unexpected, and like you feel really sad and you're like, I'm so sorry, I've got to end stream. There's no way I can stream with this going on. I don't know how long it's, And I see so many like YouTubers being like, I'm so tired. I've been up all night trying to record a video and get silence. And I think that's another thing about live streaming. You have to live in a very particular space and area and have people you live with that are understanding of that. And like my first live streaming room was next to the bathroom, and it became a meme that my other half was going to the toilet on stream. Like you couldn't hear him going to the toilet, but you could hear the light switch, and then you could hear the flush.
The flush.
Yeah. And we had to get a little system where he'd text me that he was going to go to the loo whilst I was live, so I could mute, And if I missed that, I missed it, and it came on stream. So there's just so many. Yeah, there's so many things.
Great. So I know we're sort of coming close to the time here. I had actually just 2 more questions, if that's okay with everybody here. I just want to make sure we respect your time and stay on schedule. But I think one of these is especially really important, and the last one is just sort of a closing. But why don't we just jump into this super important question, because it is from the audience, and I think the other audience questions, I think we adequately responded. I think you actually had some really interesting pieces of advice here for everyone they're going to find very valuable. But let's go ahead and just read this one here. It says, let me pull this right here so I can look that way. Sometimes I feel like I'm wasting my time streaming to 1 to 5 viewers. Do you have any advice on how to get out of this funk, I guess you could say? It's not the viewer amount, but the feeling like it's a waste of time. Actually, I'm going to add just a second one to that, because I think this is related to the general sentiment of these questions. But and to add to that, like, how often are you streaming? Did you get the latest equipment? Did you upload to YouTube? Like, I'm a family man with an impossible dream. So I guess I'm just kind of curious, like, how you went about it. Do I have a chance? I think those are both related.
I think those are great questions, because I often get people in Twitch chat and also in YouTube comments who are like, I want to start a channel, but I don't know how. And I always just say, like, just start. That's the first step. Sure. Most importantly, I think if you are saying, like, I feel like I'm wasting my time streaming, you're practicing. It might not feel like practice, but you are building something. I started on YouTube like 5 years ago or so, just doing casual live streams, like I said, with all these tech issues, but it led me to where I am now, to where I have like the good quality equipment that I prefer to use, but I didn't always have that. And it might seem a little ridiculous to be like, oh man, my stream didn't go that well today, but you're practicing. Not every practice that you have for a sport always goes well. You might have a setback. And that's the exact same thing with live streaming and content creation as a whole. Is you're going to have setbacks. You're going to feel like, man, I just didn't do enough today. And the thing is, you can't be afraid of failure, because failure is how you're going to continue to succeed and continue to grow. So I think it's really important to recognize that, yeah, you might not have, the best, highest quality microphone, but I started on an iPhone 4. Now I record on a DSLR. Like, I didn't even have a microphone when I first started content creation. You just need to start. And that's the first step.
Yeah, Caitlin nailed it. I don't have a whole lot more to add to that, really. Like, this is kind of a multi-part question, but the first part for streaming to a small audience, I think what Caitlin says is exactly right. It's great practice. You are learning something no matter what. But something that maybe helps psychologically is to imagine, as you're live streaming also, that you're not just talking to your current audience of 5 people or whatever, but a future audience, people who might watch this if you keep the VOD on Twitch or upload it to YouTube, or just imagine that the people that you're talking to right now are probably not the only people who are going to see this, right? There's other ways to get that content out there. And so that can help you feel like you're putting, you're presenting and putting on a show, even if those people might not be there in the moment. And then in terms of getting started and all that gear stuff, again, what Caitlin says is exactly right. Like, you don't need the best stuff right off the bat. Do not get caught up in the details of, oh, my sound quality has to be pristine or anything like that. I think probably most people here who started with some really humble gear. I started with just this crappy little Canon point and shoot camera that recorded at like 480p or whatever. And again, like just a built-in microphone and that kind of stuff. And so, don't fixate too much on the gear side of things. That can come later if that's something you're passionate about. But some people even continue with the kind of lo-fi thing. That's sometimes their whole shtick. And honestly, I really enjoy watching a lot of lo-fi ASMR, specifically on YouTube. I suppose I don't see so much lo-fi ASMR streaming on Twitch, but maybe that's a niche. Maybe that's a category that you could fill potentially. But exactly, once again, like Caitlin said, just doing it, just putting something out there, having something out there that's imperfect is infinitely better than having this perfect idea for something that never ends up seeing the light of day.
I feel like for me, my experience is a little bit different. I'm not sure if it has to do with the fact that I only started around 2 years ago. But I was lucky enough, and I'm really grateful for it, that when I started, I had fairly good equipment because my boyfriend already had a really good camera, and I still use this same exact camera. I didn't upgrade it. And I knew I wanted to do ASMR content, and I was lucky enough to get a Blue Yeti from the start. So I can't really say that when I started, I didn't have that gear and that equipment, but I know some people when they start, they start from like with the phone or something, and I feel like it's not really about the equipment. It's about the content that you can make with what you have, and about streaming for 1 to 5 viewers. I also didn't have their experience, probably because I started streaming when I already had a fairly good community on YouTube. So at least I would have 20 or 30 viewers from the start, which I'm really grateful for. But then again, you will always feel like there's days where you don't do too well. It doesn't matter if you have 1 viewer. It doesn't matter if you have 100 or 1,000. You will always feel like it's not good enough. Or even if for some reason on that day you don't have as many viewers as you usually do, you will always have that feeling of like, what went wrong today? Am I doing something wrong? But as Caitlin said, it's just about learning and keep going, because today, probably didn't have a really good stream, but you will have it eventually, and you just keep practicing, and eventually it will get better. And I feel like even if you're streaming for like 5 people, a really good way to look into it, I would say that it's thinking 5 people clicked on your stream. They decided to stay on your stream to watch you. So that's already a big step. Imagine having 5 strangers in front of yourself and being like, I want to stay here because of you. I want to see your content. I mean, 5 people, it's already a lot. If you don't know them, you will be like, oh, what is this group of strangers doing here? So I feel like it's a good way for you to be like, oh, there's actually people here. So let's make this something. Let's make like worth their time, and it doesn't matter if it's 5, if it's 100. You just have to kind of keep going and be grateful for those people that clicked on your stream and stayed. I know sometimes it's kind of like easier said than done, because you always look at numbers and you always are like, but I didn't get that average that I always get, and I didn't reach that number that I was thinking about. But, it's not just about the numbers, even if sometimes I think so. They are important for some things, but they're not everything, I would say.
I was going to say, first off, turn your viewer count off when you're live.
I started doing that now.
Yep.
Yeah. Turn off your viewer count when you're live. I do not I sometimes sneaky peek, maybe like 2 and a bit hours into stream, and then I won't look again. But just turn your viewer count off. Don't look at it. Live in the moment that you're in and enjoy yourself, because when you're enjoying yourself, other people are likely to enjoy themselves in your stream. If someone comes into your stream, and I've been in streams like this, and I don't know what to do when I'm in them, and I feel really awkward. So I guess other people do as well, where I go in the stream and the stream is like, and you're like, what are they doing? And then later on, literally they'll be like, talk about something. They'll be like, we just lost 10 viewers because I talked about that. You're like, oh, okay. That's what you're doing. You're constantly, so they're living in this, they're not even living in the moment of what they're creating. And I think a lot of people online get lost in this idea of, I want to be a content creator. I want to be an ASMR artist. They don't think about right now what they're creating. They think about, look at what they've got. I want what they've got. I want what they've got. And how am I going to get that? And I want it now. Whereas most people, we talk about, I started with a Blue Yeti because I already had it for streaming, but with a C920 video camera, webcam. And then I had a Canon somewhere, which I dug out and started filming on that. And it took me a year to save up for a binaural mic because I didn't have the money. And everything I've got has taken me so long. But what a lot of people do is they find you at that point where you're successful, and they're like, oh, but they've got all of those things. You don't need all of those things. One of my videos, which has had the most amount of views on my YouTube channel, I went out to the woods, took all my equipment, forgot to take the second battery for the camera. The one that was in the camera was not fully charged. I started recording, and then the tripod for my microphone broke. And I just went, I'm out here. I'm just going to record it on my phone. And nobody said a word. Nobody said a word. Phones are so good, not sponsored. My Samsung has stereo mics.
Yeah.
And stereo audio. Nobody noticed. And everyone was like, I love this video. And it was literally my phone in a little phone tripod that I carry in my handbag that I had on me, that I was just so thankful for because I'd traipsed all the way out there in a silly costume. And yeah, you are not your equipment. You are not your audience. You are not all of those things. But when you're enjoying yourself, I always try and say this to people, when you're at a social event and someone walks into the room and they've got good energy, you don't even know them. You can feel it. But when you're at a social event and someone comes into a room and they maybe sit at your table or they're around you and they've got this kind of different energy that makes you feel uncomfortable, or they're always picking holes in things and picking holes in themselves. I know this is a very deep subject, but you can feel it without even knowing them. And so just remember, when someone comes into your stream, they can feel your energy. I'm going to sound like a giant hippie here, but people can feel your energy through the screen. And if you're sitting there checking viewer count, worrying about if you've got not feeling good enough because you haven't got the latest microphone or the best lights or whatever, get rid of all of that. Have fun. Enjoy your time with that 5 people. Interact with them. Those 5 people will love you. They will tell their friends. More people will come in and things will grow. And this is coming from someone who has streamed on Twitch and lived the grind, streaming 7 days a week. You don't need to stream 7 days a week. You just need to be regular and consistent with your schedule. You need to let people know when that is. And you need to, I think maintaining boundaries from the start as well is really important for streamers, whether you've got 5 viewers or hundreds of viewers. Maintaining that boundary, doing a stream and the viewers might have loved it, and then going in Discord and being like, it was really crap, nobody turned up tonight. Well, they're going to be like, wow, that's so ungrateful. Or, you know what I mean? It's like, we turned up, I was there, and you don't even care about me, you know? So care about the people that are there and it will grow. Like, keeping that positive mental attitude is hard, and you're allowed to have down days, but just remember, like, everybody started at zero. And if something's not working as well and you're not happy, change it. Like, yeah, just change it. Try different things. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, Nick.
I was just going to throw in something really quick about scheduling and frequency of uploading and that kind of stuff, because I think that was a piece of that final question you asked there. Yeah. And for me, I've always been a hobbyist content creator. I don't do this full time, and I've never have. And so for the majority of the lifetime of my channel on YouTube and Twitch, I've done stuff once a week. For most of the time, it's one video a week and one stream a week. These days I stream twice a week, and sometimes I get 2 videos up a week on YouTube if it's a good week, but it's uncommon. And so I think what Ruby says about being consistent is the most important thing. Have that time set aside for the stream, have that upload time so people can get used to that schedule and they can be there for it. And that consistency is what matters more than the absolute frequency of your content. Hopefully. Yeah.
If you're going to stream every Monday and that's the only stream you're going to do, schedule it, put it there. You'll become part of someone's routine.
Exactly. It becomes the highlight of a week for you and for them as well, right?
So if you're just flitting on and off at different times because you feel like streaming and you don't feel like streaming, and this is another thing that a lot of like new streamers really struggle with, is they don't feel like streaming one day. And I'm not saying force yourself, but 9 times out of 10, when I've actually switched on that stream, I've had a great stream. Like, I obviously take mental health days, relax, like look after yourself. You know when you really can't do it. But 9 times out of 10, when I've gone, I'm going to switch stream on, I really don't feel like I can do it. But I might tell myself, if after an hour I'm still feeling the same, I'm just going to say I'm not feeling great and leave. But 9 times out of 10, I'm there for the whole stream and I feel so much better. And I'm so glad that I switched the stream on. And it's just getting over that initial feelings. Use your positive affirmations.
I actually have a different point of view on this because I used to stream 4 days a week with a fixed schedule, with fixed hours to start. And I would usually do the exact same amount of hours. And I recently removed my schedule. And I've been doing some sort of, I kind of have 2 days fixed, Friday and Saturday, and I always start around the same time. But the other days of the week, I kind of leave them open, and I tell them on the day that I'm going to stream, usually around the same times, but I don't really have fixed days. It's mostly because when I was doing a fixed schedule, I started to burn out because I was doing too much with 2 YouTube channels, and then I started Patreon, and it was just too much. I had to take a step back. And because I was having so much, I was struggling a lot with my mental health. I felt like I couldn't commit to certain days to open the stream and be there, because I was in a really low point where I didn't have energy or the right energy to be with them. So I kind of get what you're saying about opening the stream and trying to make your day a little bit better by being there, because it happened to me as well. But
sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And sometimes you just know, like, with burnout is a real thing, and you've done what like you needed to do for yourself, but you were very aware as well that having a little bit of schedule is probably good for you. But that idea of, oh my gosh, I've got to be here all the time is, yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of trying to find a balance, because I know some people like a fixed schedule. So I have those 2 days that are still fixed, and it gives them some sort of security. They know I will be there on that time. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I give myself some freedom on the other days, so I don't overwhelm myself and my mental health with that pressure of, you will have to do this on this day. So it definitely helped. I would recommend, if someone is struggling a lot with, just give yourself a little bit more freedom when it comes to that. just to make your life a little bit easier, and your viewers will eventually understand. They want what's best for you. And I also feel like my energy improved a lot on the streams because I have this really good energy when I go into them. And also, I don't know why, but viewership always it keeps rising with this kind of schedule. And I don't know, it's working for me. I'm not saying it might work for other people, but yeah, it's just a matter of
That's
also trying to know your community and what they are used to, you know, if they have fixed schedules or if they are like flexible as well.
Or if you're like me and I gave myself a day I stream if I felt like it, but then I felt like I owed so much to my community that they got used to me streaming on that day, and then I was streaming more. And I was like, well, that did not work, did it? Like, it's really hard. And it's interesting what you say about streaming 2 fixed days and 2 non-so fixed days and how it's actually really working for you. But yeah, obviously, from what I'm saying is like, I meet so many new streamers that I think it's mostly that idea of there being nobody there, and then they get down and they start overthinking. But I'm like, just start stream. You'll be all right. Like, but yeah, if your mental health is struggling, and burnout is like a real thing. And yeah, doing too much. But yeah, if 1 day a week and then you feel like hopping on like works, then yeah.
Great. So we're going to wrap up here, but I wanted to in fact, you've almost answered my last question, which was really just if you wanted to add one last thing, you know, that you hadn't said. I think Miss Caitlin, maybe you wanted to add something there because I think the others had spoken, but is there anything you wanted just to add here to let people know, you know, just if they're struggling to start their own stream or something like that?
I kind of agree with a little bit of both of what Maya and Ruby said. So I do have a set schedule, but I also have an optional day. And I do tend to schedule any variety streams, any off streams that's like typical outside of my typical content on that off day. And I really find that having that optional day for yourself, if you want to take it as a day off, if you want to take it as a YouTube day, if you want to take it as a stream day, it really, really helped me. And at first my community was of like, oh man, you're going down to like 4 streams a week. And it's like, yeah, I am, because I'm going to make better streams because I have a better positive mental attitude going into my streams now. And it really, really worked for my schedule.
Yeah, I only stream 4 days a week. I literally chipped it back, like, and then gave that optional day, and then it gave me a day back. And then I was like, you feel like really committed to people, which is why I found it so hard. But yeah, finding that boundary so you can create content and be healthy is, and also doing ASMR. This is another thing. I do get compared to gaming streamers, and from someone who used to stream games, they're both very different like beasts, and they're both very different. So if you're streaming a game and you don't feel like talking, or you don't feel like, you know, or you're just following the story of the game, you can zone out and immerse yourself in that game with your audience. Whereas if it's just you and your camera and you're doing ASMR and you're not feeling great, suddenly it's just like you there. And everyone's going to know, and you feel like everyone's going to know. And it can be very exhausting. Both can be very exhausting, but I feel like I get most tired personally doing ASMR over gaming. Like,
yeah, I do both together most of the time. And so for me, they're not especially different beasts, but I tend to lean more towards the side of the game is secondary. It's there. It's, you know, maybe a draw for some people, or it's something for us to kind of focus on together, but it's not really why we're there on my streams. So, but in terms of sort of a final piece of, I guess, advice or wisdom to give, I think what we talked about just doing it. If you're looking to get started, just do it. Just force yourself to put something out there. And another thing we've touched on, go in without any grandiose expectations, ideally without any expectations at all. Do it because it's something that you want to do and you want to have fun with. This was easy for me back in the day when I got started, because ASMR was like not a thing at the time, or there were people making it, but it was very different at, you know, back in the day. It wasn't the big, phenomenon that people are familiar with now. So I went in with zero expectations. But I think having that mentality, just going into it because it's something that you want to try or that seems interesting or fun to you, and having no expectations will carry you a long way. And that goes into what Ruby was saying about, your energy. People can feel what you're there for, and that positive energy about you just being excited to be there will draw people to you. So.
All right, great. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time, but that was extremely interesting, and I really appreciate you all joining us for this TingleCon panel. I think there's a lot of things to digest there, and I think a lot of ASMR artists can learn from that, and the fans will find that super interesting as well. So thank you, Miss Caitlin, ASMR Nerd, RubyTrue, and ASMR Maya. We really appreciate it, and have yourselves a good one.